This presentation about the TJX case study is created by me, Robert Barnes. The issue with this case is that they did not take the security of the systems and servers seriously, which is what led to them getting breached by hackers over the weak router system still running on the weak encryption of the WP. The main cause of this even happened was the lack of response to the outdated security of their systems by the CEO. He was asked by the PCI to fix their security as they failed 9 out of 12 criteria needed to protect the user's data from being attacked. This lack of security was found by the cyber crooks who realized that the protection was weak, so they attacked, stealing the data from TJX for months until they finally figured out by the IT staff of TJX. So here are my recommendations for how they could have went about fixing this problem. So my first main recommendation is to implement better web server protection system. Basically, just switch from WP to WPA as it is stronger in security protection. Next, I'd hire a CEO, or at least train the current CEO, and put security over saving money. The main reason this breach even happened was the lack of security pursuit of the CEO of TJX at the time. He was more concerned about conserving money rather than protecting the shopper's data from hackers. Next, I'd implement security standards to protect server data so that it's harder for breaches on both the outside and inside, and prevent people from taking sensitive data. Next, I'd hire or train the IT team to be able to detect intrusions and protect data, because they didn't discover the intrusion for months after they were breached. And then I'd give the IT department more management decisions when it comes to security decisions within the company, not just leaving it up to possible unexperienced manager or higher up to make the decision that doesn't understand the full scope of the problem. Here's my action plan, going from most important needs to be done now to least important can be done a little bit later. So first, I'd implement WPA protection of Wi-Fi access, since it's the main problem that led to TJX being breached. Next, I would add more security standards to protect the server data. They failed this when they didn't follow the PCI data security standard. Next, I train the IT department to be able to detect intrusions and create software, or invest in already created software to implement some sort of intrusion detection system. The IT department has more management decision. That would be great. And then replace. I'll go into more of that later. And then replace or train the CEO that rather want to protect their valuable customers and their information rather than trying to conserve as much money as possible. So I have this pros and cons to this action plan, however. So the pros here, it will increase wireless security of server access. It will end up training the IT department of security implementation to protect sensitive data that they handle daily. Managerial decisions making can be made by the IT department. They'll let them have a say on a failure of a security decision made by higher up. Implementing security standards will just better protect the server-side access to people non-authorized. And with the change of CEO, or at least training of the CEO, we can get someone that will take this more seriously of security matters. There are a good amount of cons to this, however. A lot of it has to do with time and money. But first, we have to buy compatible routers for all businesses that run under TJX, and then make sure it gets shipped and installed by third-party workers. Make sure WP is upgraded to WPA, which will take a good amount of time until all stores are upgraded. Implementing security standards doesn't just happen overnight. It may take weeks to upgrade already weak security standards. It would cost a good amount of money to create data security for those servers. Training the IT department is going to cost a good amount of money as well. They're going to have to hire third-party servers to teach the IT department, which is also going to take a couple months for all of the IT department to get completely down. Implement changes of the IT department could possibly hurt the company's finances without approval of higher-ups. Basically, let's talk about if they have management decision. The IT department might not know if their changes will hurt the company finances or not. And lastly, changing CEO is a hard task to do that would take long enough that it may just not be worth it to change CEO, and we just have to hope that the current CEO just learns from his mistakes. So here I have a case study questions. This is about the giving management decisions to the IT department. So I believe that they should have it because this all could have been avoided if the CEO just would have listened to his IT department at the time. Senior level IT employee at the time commented that the absence of rotating keys in WEP means that we truly are not in compliance with the requirements of PCI. This becomes an issue if this fact becomes known and potentially exacerbates any findings should a breach be revealed. So, Butka, the CEO at the time, he had an understanding of security risks of the old technology, but he just ignored his IT team's advice and just wanted to save money and just kept the WP servers, which led them to getting breached. I believe that it was not worth the risk to upgrade the TJX wireless protection of WP to WPA, not upgrading their wireless security standards. Not upgrading the systems led to the eventual breach in the systems, which thousands of users' information was stolen from the company's data servers, around 455,000. Responsibility for the failure of security standards is all on Butka's shoulders, as it was his call to not upgrade the systems. And lastly, the cyber crooks that invaded TJX, I don't think they were ingenious crooks. They were probably just rather basic. They had basic knowledge of how it works. But because of the loopholes the CEO took, it made it super easy for them to just break through with like the little knowledge they have. So for a smart, profitable retail organization to get into this kind of situation, people finding a small weakness within the security of their systems, all it takes is that small hole, and it's just enough to get into the company's servers and steal information from the company. Having a weak data infrastructure can be broken if it isn't designed securely. That is all for my presentation. I learned a lot from this TJX case study. It was rather interesting to read, and I learned that security systems should definitely just stay up to date at all times, and you shouldn't ignore the weak infrastructure, because that small hole is just enough for anybody to steal information, or it could have been worse. They got off pretty lucky with only getting like emails and passwords stolen, and no credit cards or debit cards were stolen or PIN numbers, but it definitely could have been a lot worse. So thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope you have a good